young at heart, but we're still dreaming, eyes wide open.
Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. How's everybody been? I hope you have all been doing really well. Listen, in this video I'm going to show you a little thing that happened to my friend Troy to do with an engine out. And one of the things about having an engine out is, are you ready for an engine out? And what is going to be your reaction when it happens? And what action are you going to take when it happens? And do you know where you're going to bail out? The aircraft that we fly gives us at least the opportunity, if we land out, even if it's in a bad spot, to probably not die in the situation, but it can wreck our gear, it can ruin our day and our weekend or our holiday, whatever it happens to be, right? So I'm just going to show you a little clip here of what happened to Troy. This engine out was, I guess I would call it like a proper, not proper pre-trip of the aircraft. Now, something that we didn't really think of with these four-stroke engines that we have was to do with our spark plugs, and we did change what spark plugs we were running in the units, and that caused a bit of a problem for us, which I'll explain later. But part of the thing too about doing outlanding, if you have to with an engine out, is how are you going to retrieve your gear after, and your choices of where you land out and the spots that you pick to land out and how you're going to get your gear out afterwards. So I'm just going to continue on with the film here and just show you what happened to Troy first. So guys, as we're watching Troy get ready to go here, I think he's making his radio calls. To start out with, Troy was flying by himself, and if you're flying with others, you at least have some other people that might know exactly where you're at. Troy flies with a spot device, aircraft radio, and yeah, so he's able to get in contact with somebody if he needs to. He was going to go out for cross country on his own today. I wasn't around for this flight, so he's just heading out, and we typically go over our trikes every time we fly, have a quick look at them, make sure everything's in place and working how it's supposed to be. The one thing that we don't check and haven't checked on these trikes anyway, and this is kind of besides the point of the video, but you may as well know what happened here. We changed plugs. We thought we'd put better plugs in our trikes. Troy had the idea of putting these iridium plugs in, and we think the resistance or something with the plug is a little bit off because we're getting some issues around the spark plug cap. Now, I haven't had that issue for a long time here, and the issue that I had prior I don't think was related to that, but now looking at this, maybe it is. We don't like to pull the spark plugs off, or the spark plug wire off, every single flight, because you know, like, you're yanking it out, putting it back on, you're creating wear in there, and a spark plug you wouldn't think would be an issue. So, but in this case it was, and it had actually arced through. The entire plug was black underneath the boot and had actually created a hole through the top of the spark plug where it mounts. Now, these spark plugs have the screw-on cap on top. I don't like those, and I'm going to look for a different option to those. Those caps always come loose, and I don't like putting Loctite on. It changes the resistance of the contact area, and I don't like that. But anyways, let's just carry on here, and we'll just watch Troy and see if we can catch here when his engine dies, and watch the reaction when it does. guys, so coming up you're going to see Troy's engine die. It dies when he lets off the throttle. So at full throttle there was enough spark created that the engine would run. So he had no idea. He did his climb out, and he was climbing on his way out of here. And as soon as he lets off the gas, that's when his engine dies. Now I want you to watch how fast his reaction is to the engine dying, and just how quickly he has his decision made about where he's going. So, did you see that, guys? That engine wasn't dead for a second and a half, and Troy had already turned and burned, and he knew where he was going to go and land. Now, pilots that have been flying for a long time, you guys have had engines out, so you've had the experience. This is more for the newbies, and for guys who aren't really thinking about it. Look at this terrain around us here. There are not many places to land. When we fly out and around this area that we fly in, you had better be watching and paying attention to where your out is. Now, we couldn't see in the video where Troy's out was. He told me it was a tiny little spot down by the road, a little bit of a turnout, and there was enough area to get in there. It didn't look like it when Troy was flying along, like he was really looking around and paying attention, but trust me, even now, watch his head. He's looking around. He's paying attention. He restarted the motor, as you heard, and he's keeping it high RPM. He obviously figured out in his mind that at a low RPM that engine was going to die on him, and he's keeping it at high RPM now and climbing to give himself more room for outs. But just the fact that he was ready that fast, he knew where his bailout was. I think his engine's going to die again, so let's just have a watch here, and I might even forward it a little bit, and we'll just see if it does. Okay, you guys, so you saw Troy kind of throwing his head down a little bit in disgust at his engine dying, but pay attention here. So his engine's dead here, but before he just goes ahead and tries to restart it, which he probably thinks he can at that point, he takes a few seconds and he's making sure that he's still flying the aircraft before he actually goes and starts to try and restart the engine again. And that's critical too. You can find yourself messing around trying to start an engine at a time that's not appropriate. Make sure he knows he has a place to land right now. He's just double checking all that stuff. He knows he can make it to the field. Then he restarts the engine again. So just watch this. Okay, so critical point number probably 2 or 3. Troy gets the engine refired, and he's figured out that, and he told me this, that he can fly at full RPM. He's not really 100% sure what's going on, and probably at that point is when you should land. Troy was really looking forward to going for a cross-country flight today, and he just thought, well, I'm up here, so I'm just going to get this thing started and I'll just fly around. But the key to this is he knew, or at least in his mind knew, that he didn't have a danger of fire or anything like that. Parts weren't falling off. He figured it was something electrical causing it. So now, with an engine that he can't trust, he plans to fly around a little bit and, you know, kind of make the best of his morning after being in the air for 15 minutes only on a buttery smooth morning and being bitterly disappointed that his motors died on him. He's just going to check things out. But now he's doing it totally different. He's not going to go cross country. He's just going to bomb around, have a look at a few things because he knows his engine can fail. So now you know he's going to keep a good landing spot right open to him. So we'll see if we can catch this last engine out and his landing. Alright, so after a bit of flying around, I deleted some of the flying there, guys, but Troy's getting ready to make his way back to the truck, and he's over the LZ area now. And so what happens here, and he's aware that it's going to happen, as long as he's flying with at least half throttle on, he says, the motor would run. So now he's got a decision to make to keep the engine running and not leave himself in a sticky situation. Even though you can land in a lot of spots out here, he's keeping an eye on it, making sure that he can land in a reasonable spot. So you'll see coming right up here, when his engine dies, he's pretty much all set up, and he can set it down basically right by the trucks, I think, is what he winds up doing. So yeah, engine out, guys. You never know when it's going to happen, and you always want to be prepared. And Troy does a good job of that here today. So let's watch him.
What a fucking pig! What the fuck? Fuck.
Okay, guys. I can laugh because Troy's my friend, and the problem was pretty minor at the end of the day. But man, you got to feel his disappointment. That just sucks. Look at that day, and he's on the ground and wishing he was in the air. But anyway, good job flying there, buddy. Good job keeping your outs in sight. And that's how it's done, guys. So I just thought I'd throw this little video out there, especially for new guys into the sport, guys and gals into the sport. Troy did a bang-up job here today, flying over kind of pretty rough terrain. He knew where he was going to land at all times. And I'm sorry I'm laughing, but I can still see him swearing there. But anyway, good job, Troy. And everybody, fly safe and keep those outs where you want them to be and practice those spot landings. And you guys all subscribe, hit the like button, and we'll catch you in the next video. See you guys. Bye.